So, yeah, my name is Cheesy John 777, but it's an account that I made when I was younger, and I just don't really want to change the name. That was back in 2007. That's when the Amazing Race All-Stars, I think, was probably the last season that was on at the time that had just finished. Not 100% sure. I always get the years mixed up because it's a little different than Survivor, in that it goes twice a year for some of them, and then once in a while it'll be once a year, and then nowadays it's always once a year, and we might not even get one next year. So, yeah. So I'm gonna rank all 31 Amazing Race winners. And so, if you haven't watched it, I'm going to spoil every winner. So, you might not want to watch this if you haven't seen every winner. But for those who are fans, those who have seen all of them, or who have seen a lot and just don't care, or have not seen any and just don't care, then go ahead. You can watch this for sure. It'll be good. I hope. I don't know. It's statistical, so it's not as much an opinion thing. I'm going by statistics that I got off of the Amazing Race Wiki. And so basically what I'm ranking them on is their averages, how their average was based upon each leg of the race that they race. So whatever place they got at the end of each leg is added up and then divided by however many legs there are, and that is the average. So who is the best winner? I would say they're the ones with the best average, because it's a little different than Survivor, and Big Brother too, I guess. Although I haven't really watched Big Brother, but I know the gist of it. But even for Survivor, like it's different, because sometimes the best people are don't win. The best person wins. The person wins who deserves to win. This is what I mean. But you can rank them higher than each other based on their strategy within the game. It's not really an average you can take if you're ranking all the winners. So, yeah. Anyway, this one is a little different. This is, averages. It's hard to say, who's the most strategic, who is the best, because we can say like, one really strong team was Azaria and Hendakia. I think that's how you say her name, and they went out pretty like midway through the race, right? And sometimes that happens, where a really strong team will go out early. So these people have all won, so obviously they've all done very well. But I'm still going to rank them, and it's going to be based on that average. But there are different things, and at first I was thinking, it'd be awesome to see how they did in their first leg. Did they come in first? Did they come in second? Did they start out really badly and come in 10th? Nobody's ever done that, by the way. Nobody's come in 10th on the first leg and won. I found that out. But how did they do? How did each winner do? And I wanted to make that into a tiebreaker, actually. So if their averages were tied, I wanted to break the tie by saying, how did they do their first leg? But then I realized there's a better way to do it, and that was to just see how many firsts they got. So if they're tied in their average, who got more first place finishes? And that's how I broke the tie. Although I still ended up having ties after that for some of them. And so, yeah, I ended up going with, if I had to break that tie, then I would go with how did they start? Who finished earlier? And so, yeah, in those cases, like, I did rank them one number above another, but you can take it as a tie anyway. The other thing is, if so for example, there are some people who have like some winners who raced on a race that had less legs and more legs. So some of the races had 13 legs. Some of the races had 11. And nowadays they're like 12, but some of them are different, right? And so some people's averages are only 1 point off, like 0.1 or 0.2 off of another average. And I actually counted those a tie, and I put the tie breakers in for those because I figured they were close enough, and they were, yeah, close enough. So I did rank some people higher who had 0.1 average that was higher, which means they rank lower. So I don't know if you understood that, but basically I'll get into it when I rank them. But I did want to start out by going through all the teams and how they started off, and just start with that. Like, who came in first on the first leg? How did they start? Because I thought it was really interesting. And I liked when I was rewatching, because that's what I've been doing in this quarantine. I mean, it's not as bad here now, but yeah, like when you couldn't go out at all, like I started watching this, and I just decided, yeah, I'm gonna finish. I am totally gonna finish watching all the seasons of The Amazing Race, because I love this show, and I feel like there's not enough people that do videos on it or talk about it, and I figured I wanted to contribute, because I see all these Survivor and there's also Big Brother videos, and I wanted to contribute Amazing Race because I feel like there's not as much of a representation. And so, yeah, that's what I'm doing. And that's why I'm doing what I'm doing, because I love The Amazing Race. I've always loved it more than Survivor. I only got into Survivor like 8 years ago, but The Amazing Race I've been watching since season 6. So, yeah, and then I don't know if it was before or after season 7, but on GSN they had reruns. So on GSN every day there was a episode from seasons 1 until the last season that was aired, and so I went and got to rewatch all of them. So I've seen every Amazing Race for the first time not knowing who the winner was, which is not the same as Survivor, because I watched The Amazing Race so much earlier. So I knew people won, like Rob and Amber. They were or not Rob, I guess, but Amber. And Ethan and Jenna, I knew that they won, and stuff like that before I had watched Survivor. So anyway, I don't know if that really had to do with anything, but that's just a little bit of background. Let's get into it. So, who came in first on the first leg? Well, the very first team ever, Rob and Brennan, to win, they came in first on the first leg. They started it off well, and that didn't happen again for 10 seasons until Tyler and James came in first on the first leg. And then Nick and Star came in first on the first leg. And then in season 15, Megan and Shane came in first on the first leg. In season 19, Ernie and Cindy came in first on the first leg. In season 20, the very next season, Rachel and Dave also came in first on the very first leg. And then the only other team, I should say, to do so was Dana and Matt. They came in first on the first leg. And they actually, it was a really cool thing with them because they only won 2 legs of the race, but it was the very first and the very last, which I thought was cool. They started it off with a win, and they ended with a win, even though they didn't get any more than that. But they got the one that counted. They got the $1 million, so good for them. Although, another thing I should point out is I don't do a lot of research or look into things beyond what I see in the race. Like, there's some things that I know about. I didn't look it up, but I think I heard that they were not together anymore, Dana and Matt. And so, I guess it doesn't really surprise me watching them on the race, but it is something that's interesting. But as I talk about teams and stuff, there's like, I'm not a person that knows everything about them, basically, or everything that's public about them either, because I don't do a lot of research into their lives or follow them on Instagram or stuff like that. But yeah, I just love the show. So there are some things that I kind of know, but yeah, you could easily see me miss some things. Anyway, now for those who came in second place, Flo and Zack came in second place on the first leg. BJ and Tyler came in second place. No, they didn't come in first place. Tammy and Victor did it. Nat and Cat did it. Bates and Anthony did it. And Cody and Jessica. And then just this last season, Colin and Christy did that. Then for third place, we have TK and Rachel, and Keisha and Jen, and Dave and Connor. Interesting thing about that, though, is like, I guess there must have been some kind of penalty assessed or something, but I don't really know, because if there was a penalty assessed, then did they really come in third, or did they get that penalty and leave in fourth? I don't really know. They left in fourth, and I always thought that was really weird, because they cut some stuff, and sometimes when you don't know, it's like, maybe I should have done some more research. I don't know. They came in third, though, and it does say they came in third on the wiki, so that's what I put. They left fourth, and then there was also, Joey and Megan that season left 8th after finishing in 10th, and it doesn't tell us why. It also told us that Joey and Megan were in season 18 on the next episode, so who really knows? Was it a mistake that David Connor left fourth? I don't think so. I think it was definitely, it had to be some kind of penalty of some sort. I don't know, but I'm not sure. That's the thing. I don't really know. So I just have him on third. Laura and Tyler, aka Magdalena and Hayes, they came in third. Fourth, we're into fourth now, and Freddie and Kendra came in fourth. Eric and Danielle came in fourth. Brooke and Scott came in fourth on the first leg. And then that's it for fourth place. And one of the things that I found interesting, like, if you're a betting person, odds are, if a team comes in fifth on the first leg, they won't win, because it's never happened before, at least on the US version. I mean, right, no team who has come in 10th has ever won either, which I think would be really cool to see one day, someone getting off to a really bad start. Like, that's almost the worst start you can get and stay in these days, unless there's a non-elimination leg for leg one. But yeah, I just found it interesting that if you've started off by coming in fifth, you haven't won. So as we look forward to season 32 and stuff like that, if I'm trying to guess, and I don't do too much like looking into like edits and stuff like that, or I kind of like to not know. I like it to be like, surprise me, right? But chances are, if I'm trying to pick who's going to win for season 32, I don't think I'll pick who's coming in fifth on the first leg, because it's never happened before. But hey, maybe it'll be a first time. There's a first time for everything. Wow. Yeah. Not for everyone, but for everything. Number sixth place, not number six, sixth place, we have Chris and Alex. They started in sixth place. Amy and Maya also came in sixth. Seventh place, Josh and Brent came in seventh. And then we're getting lower now. Eighth place, Chip and Kim. And same thing as Chip and Kim, Uchenna and Joyce also got eighth. Dan and Jordan got eighth. Jason and Amy got eighth. And Kelsey and Joey also got eighth. And then the lowest down a winning team has ever started is Ryken and Chip in ninth place. And yeah, it's quite something. I was kind of hoping as I was rewatching through, because I don't memorize all these positions, and I didn't want to look up before I rewatched, because I just wanted to, find out, oh. But I was hoping that a team would get in 10th. I was like, man, is there a team that gets 10th and ends up winning? Is there a team that got off to that bad of a start and still managed to win the race? And not for the American version, at least. But also in 9th, the Linz family actually had quite a bad start, and they almost went out because there was only 10 teams. They almost went out. They almost lost, and the Black family could have kept going, but no. The Linz family got the chance to stay in, and they ended up making the best of it, and they won. So, yeah, now let's get into the actual overall averages and the rankings. So, number 31, it probably doesn't come as a surprise if you've seen all the Amazing Race seasons, but it's Josh and Brent. They have an average of 4.58. So that's kind of their finish average, right? Like I've said how to get that average, but Josh and Brent, basically it means they get 4.58th place is their average. So that's their placement average. So this is probably, with Josh and Brent, this is probably the biggest comeback of all the 31 seasons. You know, once they got saved by the first non-elimination leg, they were always second to last. Always. And the only reason they stayed in at one point was because James and Abba lost their passports. And then, helped by getting split up from Abby and Ryan at the U-turn, they scrape their way into the final 3, only to take the lead and get to the finish line first, which is really, like, it's such a great moment. It's such a great story, although I really felt bad for James and James, especially James with a Y. His face at the end of that was just, like, so disappointed. Oh, man. But for the Beekmans, it was a great moment, and it's likely the best comeback win of the Amazing Race. But it makes sense that they have the lowest average and are in last on this list because of how they got there. And because we are saying it was a comeback, it was like the biggest comeback, obviously they're going to be the lowest winners. And so that didn't surprise me at all. Some of these things did, and that was not one of them. And the thing is, too, I'm pretty sure if you know The Amazing Race and you've watched all the seasons, like, you'll also be able to easily know who came in first. We'll get there when we get there, but I don't think that'll be a surprise to most people. So 30th place is Amy and Maya, and they had an average of 4.50. Now, I'm not a big fan of the 4-team final leg twist. I'm glad they got rid of it after the blind date season, but I still consider this, for the sake of Amy and Maya, as just an extra non-elimination leg. So to me, it doesn't take away from their victory. But yeah, they're quite low, and having been in a position where they pretty much any other season would have been eliminated, they might have been this low even if I wasn't holding statistics as the highest measure. But even with holding statistics as the highest measure, they still end up in 30th place. 29th, with a average of 4.33, is Dan and Jordan from season 16. And then in 28th is Brooke and Scott with an average of 4.08. And they're the team that did not know each other before, but they definitely, I think, benefited from no one else knowing each other. It's not like the blind date season. Actually, what am I talking about all of a sudden? I just realized the blind date season, the people that didn't know each other, they did really well. So I don't know what I'm talking about anymore. But yeah, Brooke and Scott, they're lower down. They are 28th, and they are the last team with an average as low as 4. Or, I mean, as low as 4. It's above 4, but it's still a lower average. You want the lower average. You want the higher placement, right? So 4.08, that's Brooke and Scott. And so in going into the threes, we have season 6, Freddie and Kendra with a 3.67 average. In 26th place is Eric and Danielle, who have a 3.62 average. And it's interesting to see Eric this low. Like, I believe he still has the best average from any season on the US version of the race, like from his time with Jeremy. Yet it's with Danielle. Somehow he didn't perform as well with her, but it's still with Danielle that he was able to finish the final leg in first instead of second like he did with Jeremy. But yeah, I was surprised to see him this low anyway. 25th is Chris and Alex with a 3.38 average. When I started rewatching all the seasons during the quarantine, I was really surprised at these guys because I remembered them as being a really strong team. But they were pretty average in terms of the winners. Like, they were not like I remembered at all. Although that race was a very mixed bag. Every team in the top 8 got at least second or higher at one point. So it wasn't really a season that anyone really dominated. Like, Tara and Will were probably most consistently in the upper ranks each leg. But yeah, the teams were for the most part quite evenly matched. And so, yeah. But I was surprised. I thought that Chris and Alex were going to be more top tier. 25th, that's like the bottom 6, you know, like, or is it the bottom 6 or the bottom 7? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, it's the bottom 7. So yeah, but I was still surprised. This is also actually the first tie that we have. Actually, not quite a tie, as they're 0.01 above in average. But like I said before, 0.01 or 0.02 off, I consider a tie. And so here we're looking at the amount of times Chris and Alex have won a leg, which includes the final leg. So they have 3 wins. They won 3 times. But the team ahead of them has 4 wins. And that is Chip and Kim. They have a 3.39 average, but like I said, I consider that a tie. But they have 4 wins. So I broke that with them being higher than Chris and Alex. So they're in 24th place. 23rd place is from season, I believe, 27, and that is Kelsey and Joey. They have an average of 3.33, which is, here we go, another tie. They only won 1 leg, though, and that was the very last leg. They only won the very last leg. They never won before they got to the final 3. And that's the same with number 22, which is Keisha and Jen from the Unfinished Business season. And they also only have that one thing. Wow. So yeah, this is where I broke the tie based on how they started. And so Keisha and Jen, they came in 3rd. Kelsey and Joey, they came in 8th. And so that's why Keisha and Jen are ahead of them. 21st place, we have from season 30 with a 3.27 average, Cody and Jessica. They are 21st. And then 20th place is Ryken and Chip, who have a 3.15 average. But, okay, so this is the part where things get a little bit odd with the tiebreaker or the 0.01 or 0.02 difference breaker. The next 4 teams are a part of this with all 3 different amounts of legs, 11, 12, and 13, all in the mix. So we have 3.15 with Ryken and Chip. We'll also have 3.18 and 3.17. And I considered all these for a tie. But Ryken and Chip have 2 wins. So keep that in mind. Or just keep looking at the coins that I made. So they have 2 wins. And in 19th place, we have Dana and Matt, who are 3... Yeah, they're 3.17 average. But they also have 2 wins. And so, yeah, again, that tiebreaker from the very start, it comes again into play because Dana and Matt, they got first in the first leg, and Ryken and Chip got 9th. The best a team can do and the worst a winning team has done. So that was the difference. Even though Ryken and Chip are still only 0.02 behind Dana and Matt, I still put Dana and Matt ahead. And ahead of them are Uchenna and Joyce, who have the same average. However, they have 1, 2, 3 wins. So they won 3 legs, and so they are ahead of Dana and Matt. 17th is the 3.18 team, average team, TK and Rachel. They also have 3 wins. But again, here we go again with that early on tiebreaker. TK and Rachel got 3rd in their first leg, and Uchenna and Joyce started off with an 8th place. So that's yeah. Anyway, that's why it's like that, because TK and Rachel came from the race with 11 legs. So, and Uchenna and Joyce, I don't know what they had. Did they have 13 or 12? I believe they just had 12. Maybe I should look that up again, actually. Let me just quickly look that up. Uchenna and Joyce. Yeah, Uchenna and Joyce had 12 legs. Yeah, they did have 12. Okay. Because I was going to say, if they had 13, then Ryken and Chip should be ahead of them, but they had 12, so I'll keep it the same. I will keep it the same. Yeah, so that's right. I'm glad. 16th place is Laura and Tyler. So another team that didn't know each other beforehand, and they did really well. They are at pretty much the midway point. They're not in the upper half, but yeah, they're still up there. 3.08, good average. So yeah, but I gotta say they have 3 wins because our next team is tied with them, and they also have 3.08 of an average, and that's Nat and Cat. And I didn't remember them being such a strong team, but they won a lot of legs. They won 5 legs of the race compared to Laura and Tyler's 3, so that's why they're ahead. They seemed very dominant at certain points. Nat and Cat did, not all the time, right? But certain legs they definitely did. They've got to be the strongest. They are the strongest performing all-female winning team, and I would say at this point that they're probably the best all-around, or the best all-female team that there's ever been on the Amazing Race, at least the U.S. version. I'm probably forgetting people. I don't know. Maybe I'm not. Maybe I am. Maybe I'm not. But if there's a stronger all-female team, they've never won. So, yeah, that's why Nat and Cat, I think they're the strongest. They did super good on their season. They really did. 14th place, Jason and Amy. So they started out in 8th place, but they actually got a pretty good average out of it. So yeah, Jason and Amy, 2.92. We are in the 2s now, and yeah. So this is the upper half. We are in the upper half, and 13th place is the Lynn's family, and they got a 2.82 average. And again, here we get one of those 0.01 differences. So the Lynn's family has 2 wins, and even though they started off pretty bad, I remember the Lynn's family being really strong throughout the whole race. They only had 2 wins, and they came in 9th on the first leg, and so it was like, oh, wow. But yeah, they still did well. Average-wise, they got 2.82, so that's pretty good. And then Ernie and Cindy are in 12th, and they had 3 wins, which puts them ahead of the Lynn's family, even though they have 0.01 difference of an average. So Should they be lower? I don't know. Lynn's family had 10 teams to race against, and they only had 11 legs. So, yeah. Yeah. Because the average is basically just 0.1 off, I say Ernie and Cindy are the better winners. So, this next team, I was actually really quite surprised that they ranked this high. Number 11 is Flo and Zack. They got a 2.69 average. And man, yeah, like I said, I was actually quite surprised they ranked this high. They were a very dysfunctional team, but they actually placed very well in almost every leg. I mean, they did get last at one point at fifth place, which was a non-elimination leg. But for the entire race, they never got lower than fifth. So that really helped them here. They actually placed quite well. And actually, another thing, I remember Flo and Zack, because of Flo, obviously, but I rewatching that season, that was one of my favorite wins to watch. Not maybe my favorite team to watch, just because sometimes Flo was, and by sometimes, more than sometimes, was a lot. But man, actually, I remember when I saw them win, because I knew they won, and this is just my rewatch that I just did. That was probably my second favorite out of any of the wins, next to Utena and Joyce's, that I saw in my rewatch. I thought that was awesome. I wouldn't say the same for the first time around, just because not knowing who wins sometimes, you're definitely cheering for a certain team, and when your certain team wins, then that's awesome. But in the rewatches, when you know who everyone who wins is, yeah, Flo and Zack were great to watch that finish. We won. Yeah, I love that. 10th place, we're in the top 10, and that is Tyler and James. They made the top 10. They are one of the strongest winning teams of all time, in the US version at least. So they got a 2.50 average, and so yeah, that's season 10 for you, Tyler and James. Number 9 is the originals, Rob and Brennan, the original winners, the very first winners, 2.46 average, and they are actually in that 0.01 tie place, although this time they're 0.01 lower. So even if I hadn't gone with those tiebreakers for the 0.01 differences, they still would have been 9th and not 8th. But I still did put the tiebreaker into place. And so they have 5 wins. 5 wins. And in 8th place is somebody with 7. Nick and Star. They have 7 wins. Yeah. I've been talking about how I've been surprised that teams have ranked so high. I'm actually surprised. I'm surprised that Nick and Star ranks so low. And 8th, is that low? That's in the top 10. That's really good. I'm so surprised that they ranked so low. I really thought they were top 5. Maybe having one less leg hurt them a bit. I don't know. Just like Rachel and Dave, there were only 4 legs that they didn't come in first, so no one else above them can even say that. So I don't really know how they ranked this low, but they did. They did. Yeah. Wow. Good on them, though. They were a really strong team. Yeah. I'm surprised that they are this low. And number 7 is our most recent winners, Colin and Christy. I was going to say the highest of the winners that didn't win the first time, but they're not, actually. There's still another one. But there's the second highest of those kind of teams. They are also tied, actually. They got 2.42 average, same as the team ahead of them. And they've got 3 wins. So there's that. Whereas team number 6, Bates and Anthony, have 5 wins. So, yeah. 2 good teams, 2 really strong teams. These are, we're getting to the really, really strong teams. And, here we go. Top 5. This is the 5 strongest teams. I shouldn't say 5 strongest teams. I should say 5 strongest teams who have won, because I do think Eric and Jeremy actually are, by going by the average, the strongest team, but they didn't win. So here are the winners. The ones against them. Number 5, BJ and Tyler, 2.33 average. Wow. Before I rewatched their season, I did not remember them being a really strong team. I remember Eric and Jeremy being a super strong team that got beat out at the end. I remember the Hippies getting saved at number 4. But I was really surprised, even at the start line, rushing up those stairs, at Tyler being up there, I think first. I'm pretty sure he was the first one up. If not, he was right there, and I was like, oh, the Hippies are pretty fast. Like, oh. So yeah, they really surprised me being up this high, especially above the likes of Nick and Star. But yeah, that's where they landed. The Hippies were a really strong team, and I think maybe just being overshadowed by how strong of an average Eric and Jeremy put up. Maybe that's why I was so surprised. But yeah, they are actually a really strong team, and they performed super well on that race. Number 4 is Tammy and Victor. Not surprised that they're very high. I always remember them as being really strong winners. 2.27 average. Number 3, we have Dave and Connor. 2.17. They did quite well as well. Yeah, for Dave and Connor, I remember them. I remember thinking back in season 22 when Dave ruptured his Achilles, and they still raked in a few first place victories before having to call it quits. I was like, man, if this team comes back, they're going to do so well, and they're probably going to win. And yeah, they definitely did exactly that. So yeah, they are there at number 3. And wow, I've been talking for a long time. 37 minutes. Whew. That is a long time. This is a long video. But might as well get to the end then, eh? Number 2. Who do you think it is? It's one of 2 teams that could be left. It is Megan and Shane. 2.00 averaged, right on the dot, which means, like, all of us who know the Amazing Race thought in the beginning, the team with the most amount of first place victories is the team who has the highest average for a winning team, which is Rachel and Dave. 1.83. Very, very low. Very, very low. Yeah, they are clear and away the best winners of all time. And again, like I said, I don't think they're together anymore, but they are the best team that's ever won. Yeah, they're the best team that's performed. They're the team that's performed the best who has won. That's what I'm trying to say. Anyway, this is a long video, but that's the list. So yeah, good. That's all I have to say. All right. Do I say bye on these? I haven't done a voice recorded video before. I don't know how to end this. Whatever. Just, yeah. Peace. P.S. I just started recording again. The thumbnail, yeah, it doesn't have 2 winners on there. It has 1 winner. I didn't want to throw up 2 winners and spoil it, but I did throw 1 winner up there. But, yeah. So yeah, now the official video ends. I'm so new to this. I'm just excited to make a few videos on the Amazing Race, and so yeah, I like it. It's good. All right, that's all I have to say.